Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks so much for joining us here on KXAN Live. I'm Will DuPree coming to you from the KXAN Live studio. We hope you're enjoying your Tuesday afternoon as we show you the weather forecast for today. The high is expected to climb. We've already reached a new record in Austin because of the heat. We are expecting that heat to drop off overnight into the morning, and lows will be in the 70s, so we will be enjoying that as well. But we wanted to focus this afternoon on new polling that is out about the Texas governor's race. Of course, last month we all know that we had primaries here in Texas deciding which candidates would advance to the November general election. Now, some of those races are still in contested runoffs, but we do know which two candidates will be at the top of the ticket in the Texas governor's race. Governor Greg Abbott and Beto O'Rourke won their respective primaries pretty handily in that March primary, so they will face each other in the November general election, which is happening on November 8th there, as you see. Now, we are, of course, more than 7 months away from that election happening, but we're getting some new poll results in today and in the days previous showing where this race currently stands. The latest poll is from the Texas Hispanic Policy Foundation. Here's what they found. 50% said they supported Governor Greg Abbott getting another term as Texas governor, while 42% showed that Beto O'Rourke had about 42% of the vote the support there. The survey was conducted last month and included more than 1,400 registered voters. Again, that's an 8 percentage point difference between those two candidates, a single digit that is also popping up in another poll that came out recently from the Texas Lyceum Project. I got a chance to talk to the research director for that organization yesterday and wanted to share some of that conversation with you all now, where the results stand for the governor's race and also how voters are feeling about certain issues ahead of that November election. So listen to that conversation again with the Texas Lyceum poll. Joining me today is Joshua Blank. He is the research director for the Texas Lyceum poll. Josh, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we are just ahead of a pretty pivotal, consequential election coming up later this year, and the Texas Lyceum poll gives us at least a snapshot about how voters are feeling right now. Let's focus in on the governor's race. That's, of course, the big marquee race for Texas. And at the moment, the results show that it's a pretty tight contest up at the top of the ticket there between Governor Greg Abbott and the Democrat Beto O'Rourke. However, about 18% really are ambivalent at this point. They are weighing their options or hadn't thought about the race enough or just didn't know who they'd support. What jumps out at you about these results?
Well, I think the first thing that we have to acknowledge here is that it is extremely early in the contest. Even though we've been waiting, at least political observers have been waiting for this contest between Greg Abbott and Beto O'Rourke for what feels like a very long time right now. Traditionally, we don't really think of the fall campaigns as beginning until, well, the fall. And so for many voters, this is just not top of mind. It's just not as important to them as other things going on in their lives and in the state right now, like inflation and rising prices, housing costs, and other concerns. So while it may seem like it's surprising to find so many voters without an opinion at this stage, it's actually not as surprising as I think we should expect. And really, the high share of voters with an opinion is a reflection of the fact that these are two, pretty well-known candidates.
Yes, they indeed are. I mean, I don't know of any two bigger name candidates at the moment in our state. Let's focus in on Governor Abbott. The poll specifically looked at how people felt about the job that he's doing, and that may reflect in some of the numbers that showed up in that particular poll. What did voters say about how he's doing in his job?
Well, overall, in our polling, we found Texans pretty much ambivalent about the job that Greg Abbott is doing. As many approved as disapproved. This was his lowest overall approval levels in the history of the Texas Lyceum time series going back to the beginning of his governorship. It was also the highest rate of disapproval that we've seen in that time series. I think this is where it's important to say that every poll is a snapshot in time. And I think given when this poll data was collected, it's not surprising to see Abbott not looking as strong as maybe we would expect, because when we did this, it was at the end of the Republican primary season in which Abbott faced two very loud, very aggressive primary challengers. In fending off those challengers, Abbott had to take some positions that probably pushed him further to the right than the general electorate might have liked. But that was the focus for the last few months. And that's where we find ourselves with this poll.
As we look toward November, a lot of candidates will be shaping up how they formulate their messaging and talking about issues that really affect people and are top of mind for them. And your poll found that the economy, economic concerns, really are chief at this time. About 41% of Texans, according to your poll, found that economic concerns are the top problem for the U.S. overall, but about 26% said the same about the most important issue is the economy for Texas itself. What does this breakdown, this disparity between the U.S. overall picture and the Texas-specific one tell you?
Well, I think, for Texans looking closer to home, there's more salient concerns because it's just more specific. Ultimately, when we're looking at national problems, we're looking at big problems that affect the entire country, like the economy, like healthcare, like COVID. But I think when we start to look at state level concerns, you find that voters might have a little bit more choice in terms of what to select. So in Texas Lyceum polling, as in most polling in Texas, there's almost always a large share of voters for whom immigration or border security is the top issue. And so no issue is ever going to overwhelm this in the way that it might at the national level. But seeing a quarter of Texans, 1 in 4, citing the economy is a major concern in a state that generally tends to pride itself on the strength of its economy is certainly troubling looking ahead.
Among those economic concerns, what's the breakdown about how people feel about certain aspects of that?
It's pretty evenly split between general concern over the economy, inflation, and energy prices. But we do see this come up in other places in the poll. We had them evaluate a large range of resources and infrastructure in the areas where they lived. And surprisingly, 52% of Texans rated the cost of living for necessities like food, housing, and utilities as being poor or terrible in the areas where they live. And this was not limited to urban parts of the state or the cities that are experiencing extensive growth and cost increases. This is true everywhere in the state, whether we look at the results among urban voters, suburban voters, or rural voters.
When housing is a major concern for literally every portion of Texas society at the moment, how should leaders interpret that and react to it, do you think?
Well, I think, we tend to break the housing issue down into this hyper-local kind of narrative. And I think we do this everywhere. Most people tend to sort of look at problems, especially around issues like housing, homelessness, cost of living, and think it's only a problem in their neck of the woods. I think by, looking at these polling results that show that these problems are incredibly widespread in Texas, it does point to the fact that maybe the legislature needs to figure out a way to get involved in some sort of a way to increase the housing stock in the state, which is something I think they've been generally reluctant to do, given Texas's position as a free market, sort of limited government state. But when you look at a problem as extensive as this, where 50% of Texans say they're currently spending too much of their income on housing, that might change that calculus going forward.
One thing that seems to be top of mind for political experts is the fate of Democrats across the country during this midterm election year. Is there any sense about how Texas voters feel about the party and what their odds may be come November?
I think all this discussion about the economy really dovetails perfectly with this question. The reality is that with Democrats in control of the White House and both branches of Congress, a national economy that's generally looked at as poor or underperforming is going to be attached to the party in power. And in the case of the Democrats, this is the major headwind that they're facing going into 2022, both nationally, but also in statewide elections in Texas and elsewhere.
Turning to border security and immigration, where does that fall on the list of priorities that are top of mind for Texas voters?
Immigration and border security remain the chief concern for Texas Republicans, the concern of a very, very small share of Democrats. Ultimately, if you watch politics closely and you notice the consistent rhetoric around immigration and border security, this is really a discussion that is geared towards and keyed up for Republican voters for whom this issue has remained salient for the better part of the last decade.
One other thing that is concerning for people out there is what's happening in Ukraine with the Russian invasion there. The results that you found here in Texas, that really is something that a lot of people are concerned and worried about.
That's correct. Not only, do we see significant concern in Texas about the situation between Russia and Ukraine, but we see a rare instance of bipartisanship. Uh, Ultimately, Democrats, Republicans, Independents all expressed concern over what's going on in Ukraine, and all expressed unequivocally negative opinions towards Russian President Vladimir Putin. This may not sound surprising, but as recently as 2017, in some separate polling conducted in Texas, 50% of Republicans either expressed a positive view of Putin or were unwilling to express a positive or negative view in the wake of the 2016 elections and the former president's attempts to politicize the role of the Russian president in those proceedings. So actually, when we find out today that there is near unanimity in Texans' unfavorable opinions towards Vladimir Putin, that is actually a significant shift in opinion from merely a few years ago.
All very interesting findings. Joshua Blank, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about the poll results. We, of course, have a breakdown of those over on our website, so I'll direct people there, but we appreciate your insight in joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
That again is Joshua Blank, the research director for the Texas Lyceum poll. If you would like to read a full breakdown of those particular results, we have them available right now on our website, kxan.com. If you're also watching us on Facebook, you can find that link in the Facebook Live description box, so just click on that and head over to our website to read more. We, of course, will continue to provide the latest updates about Texas politics and how voters feel about certain topics, all leading up to the election in November. You can trust us for your local election headquarters. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We'll see you back here another time. I'm Will DuPree in the KXAN Live studio. Hope you all stay safe out there. Enjoy the rest of this very warm day. Stay cool and take care.